Hey, Who fans, welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And this is episode 423.
Yeah.
Welcome back, you lot. We hope you've had a cracking week and you've all managed to do something Doctor
Who related.
Oh.
No, that was too much.
Bloody hell.
That was... I'm just scarred after last week.
That was, yeah. Not a chance on that one.
Knocked you sideways with that one.
Yeah. We'll have to get back to normal service for next week and just doing that a bit properly.
Yes.
So,
I just had to get you this week.
So, seeing as you jumped in and you smashed that one, have you done anything Doctor Who related since last week?
No. Short and sweet.
After all that, nah, nothing.
Nah.
So, other than watch our review episode, of course.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Other than that, yeah. Right, so another week, another episode. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us as we review. We go through season 2 and every episode. Hope you checked out last week, The Well, our review of that, which was an interesting one, a bit of a middle-of-the-road story for us on that one. This week, I honestly don't know how this one's going to go, mate, with you.
No, same with you, actually.
Honestly, don't know. This could be the end of it.
Mid-series, yeah. Fall off a cliff.
It could go, either way. Or it could be amazing. It could be like, I'm absolutely looking forward to next week and watching this multiple times until then. Who knows? Who knows? Before we crack on with the review, as always, if you're a long-time listener, one of the old grizzled ancients, then hopefully you listen and you subscribe already in your podcast app of choice. If you don't, if you're new here, welcome aboard. Make sure you do that so you don't miss an episode when it lands every week at the moment as we go through season 2. Plus you get the monthly roundtable episodes as well with the writing team. You can also listen online, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. Listen there for free. Plus you can check out all of the reviews and articles from those lot. And we're on the socials too. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. There's a link on our website. Links on the website. Hit those, connect with us, give us a like and a follow. We chat plenty of Doctor Who throughout the week in between the episodes, so come and connect with us over there. And we have a really cool free Discord server. Hop in there, chat plenty of Doctor Who. Always lots of chat around the current season that's on at the time, or collecting merchandise, events, Big Finish, all of that stuff. Hop in there and chat plenty of Doctor Who. And don't forget to remember to check out my co-host channel on YouTube. It is, of course, The Geek's Handbag.
The Geek's Handbag, that's me. I'm on all the socials under the same name. And go check me out, The Geek's Handbag.
Indeedy. So that's enough about us. Let's dive straight in with this week's review. Dude, what we got?
Yeah, so here we are, episode 4, and it's called Lucky Day.
Hello? A year ago, it marked its prey. Now it's hunting you. Wants you scared and running. Why? Because it likes the taste.
There's something out there. We're a team, like you and the Doctor.
What the hell is going on? They're after you. Once the done tearing you to pieces, the Shreek will wipe out this entire village.
Action-packed trailer.
Dude, we're halfway through the series. How? This makes me feel like 8 episodes is just not enough. I feel like it's, I don't know. Just can't believe it. Episode 4 already.
Just can't believe it. I can't believe we're halfway through.
Can't get over it. I don't believe it.
Yeah, it does feel a bit like time zips along, doesn't it? Excuse the pun. We are at Lucky Day this week, though. And it was broadcast this Saturday, just gone, 3rd of May. Usual run time for season 2, about 45 minutes. It was written by not Russell T. Davies this week, but Pete McTighe directed by Peter Hoa, and stars, obviously, Ncuti Gatwa, Rita Sethu. Millie Gibson's back this week as Ruby, and a reasonably sized cast of supporting actors. And the synopsis is: Ruby Sunday faces life back on Earth without the Doctor. But when a dangerous new threat emerges, can Ruby and Unit save her new boyfriend Conrad from the terrifying Shreek? Question mark. So, Bud, a bit of a Doctor-Lite story, this one. Ruby's back, and it all gets a little bit tense as we get to see Conrad's true intentions, etc. So, Bud, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, it was great to see Ruby back, I have to say. I think Millie Gibson has been a little shining star in this new, in brackets, era of Doctor Who. I think she's great, honestly, mate. The highlight for me of so far of this sort of era. So great to see her back. We'll talk perhaps a bit more about her later, but just going to say off the bat, I thought she was great. The episode has really, really left me conflicted, though. And I have watched it twice because I was hoping I might have a more definitive feeling towards it if I watched it again. Because when I watched it on Sunday night. I was up and down throughout the whole episode. I found the beginning a bit slow, and then the twist in the middle kind of woke me up, and I was like, oh, I'm invested in this. This is good. Then I found the stuff at the end quite uncomfortable with Conrad's, being sort of having the wall set on him, and I don't know. I was just up and down, and I thought, I'll give it another watch and just let it all sink in. And I still feel a bit the same. There's stuff in it I really like, and there's stuff in it that really leaves a bad taste in my mouth. So I think I enjoyed this week's. I think I do like the actual premise of the episode, and even though I knew Conrad was going to turn out to be bad, I still found the twist a bit, it was something different. It wasn't quite what I was expecting it to be, when they took the masks off and it was, they weren't monsters. It was people doing it for social media and stuff. It wasn't the story I was expecting. So in that sense, I enjoyed that bit. But I don't know, there were bits I didn't enjoy, and there was a lot of stuff I was questioning, especially on a second watch. A lot of plot holes. Why did this happen? How did he get in there? Why was he doing this? So I don't know, mate. I'm hoping as we talk through it, I'll actually try and make some concisive decision on whether I actually enjoyed this or not. But I think I did overall. I just have a lot of issues with it as I'm going through it. Does that make sense? As a Doctor-Lite episode, I think it was pretty decent. But yeah, I don't know, man. There was just stuff that just didn't sit right with me in this story. So, I don't know. Let's talk about it. Tell me what you thought of it.
Yeah, similar to you, mate. I think it's another week, another episode where I'm flip-flopping between, did I think this was a good episode or did I not really enjoy it? I think this is the most frustrating Doctor Who has been in a while for me. This season in particular, because I've not consistently enjoyed an episode from start to finish. Yeah, I get like 2 minutes in and I think, this is going to be a belter. This is really good. And then at the drop of a hat, I'm like, okay, this is not good. And then 5-10 minutes later, I'm like, this is amazing. It's great. I love this bit. So maybe I don't know, maybe that's just how TV should be. I don't know, a bit of a roller coaster, a bit of an up and down. And you don't get this sort of constant up of everything being cool. And I'm not sure, but there were some things. Again, there were some things in the episode that I really liked, as been the case for the last few weeks. And there's been some bits that just didn't land for me. Overall, I would say it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. It was an okay watch. It was better than last week for me. And but there's just some weird script choices and some weird character choices that the biggest one being Ruby, which we'll come on to in a bit, but overall just a fairly decent episode, this one.
This is the weird thing about this series so far with me, mate. If you were to ask me, is it better than last series, Shooter's last series, I'd say miles better. Okay. And then you'd say, well, are you enjoying it? Yes, I am. But why do I sound like I'm being negative every week? I don't know, because it's almost like it's there, but it's not there. I can't quite pinpoint what it is that's just, it feels to me like every week it's so close to being really good, but then it just falls off a cliff for me. So it's a weird one, mate, because I've enjoyed all 4 episodes of the series so far, a lot more than the last series, but they just haven't quite held together under scrutiny. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's because we're reviewing them rather than just watching them. It's always a different thing. If you're watching an episode or two just for, putting something on in the background, or an episode just to enjoy, you'll overlook all plot holes and things. But I guess because I'm watching it to review, and I'm looking for plot holes, and I'm looking for things to be critical about as well as praise, maybe that's why. But I don't know. Something is just not... It's like that final piece of the puzzle is not quite fitting in with the rest of it somehow with this series. But it is odd, because I am enjoying it for the most part. And that kind of sums up my feelings towards this episode as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Exactly that. It's almost like you see the trailer beforehand and you think, oh, that looks really cool. And then you look at some info about it, as we do as Who fans. We look at some extra info about it. Not spoilers, but, we're just clued up, I guess, more than your average sort of Joe Public fan. And on paper, it looks amazing. The ingredients are there and you think, oh, okay, yes, it's going to be a good one. But then, like you say, you get to the end of the episode and you're like, I enjoyed that. It was a decent watch, but why do I not feel like I've just experienced an amazing episode of Doctor Who?
Why am I not buzzing to watch next week's?
Like when you and I were going through, so on our other podcast, Federation Strike, which is about Blake 7, when you and I were going through that, we were just like itching to get on to the next episode, weren't we? We bulk recorded most of it. We did 2 a week. And then after that second episode, towards the end of the week, we were like, mate, I really want to go and watch the next one now. But I know if I do that, I'll forget a lot of key moments when we come to review it next week. Whereas at the end of these Doctor Who episodes, I'm just really like, we've got a WhatsApp chat with the writing team, so like a big blue box WhatsApp, and a couple of people over the last few weeks since this season has started, they've messaged in there on a Saturday, probably mid-morning, lunchtime, and said, so who's watched the episode? What do you think? And my reply is, well, I'm not watching it until tomorrow, or I'm not watching it until, later tonight or whatever. I just don't have that sort of drive to get on it and watch it as ASAP like I would have done previously. I'm just not, like, I didn't watch this one for the first time until Monday night.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
So, like, I wasn't, like, stacked at the weekend. I could have watched it any time. But I just wasn't fussed about diving back in and watching the next one. So, which is weird, because as you say, you're watching it and you're enjoying it and you don't think it's terrible. It's cool. But then you finish watching it and you're like, I'm just not buzzed by it all,
Do you think
Strange.
as well having another Doctor-Lite episode is not helping towards... Because, if you love the Doctor and the New Companion, you'll tune in just to see them. I mean, I used to say this about the Matt Smith era. I loved his Doctor. So even if we got a pretty average or whatever episode, which happened a lot with his Doctor, it didn't really matter. Same with Capaldi. I still enjoy tuning in to see them. The Doctor and Amy or whatever. But I think because we're not really getting to know... I mean, I don't feel like I know Belinda at all, really, as a companion, and she's only got 4 episodes left. Shooty's Doctor... I know we normally come to the Doctor later, mate. I'm just going to get this out of the way. I really liked him to begin with. Do you remember? I actually remember thinking, like, towards the start of his tenure, that he's got the potential to be my favourite Doctor. I just instantly warmed to him, and he had a bit of gravitas and, was showing a bit of emotions. I don't know if I've got bored of him or what, but he's irritating me now. He's almost getting to how I felt about Jodie's Doctor. At the beginning, he's hardly in this episode, and when he was in it, mate, I didn't like the Doctor. And I am specifically saying the Doctor now, not Shooty, the Doctor. He was over the top and bouncing off the walls in the first few minutes that he's in it. And then he comes in at the end and gives this, what I thought was quite a nasty, smug speech to Conrad, who, yes, was a bleep, but come on, it was just not nice. He kind of leaned in and lectured him, and I didn't like the Doctor at all in this episode, mate. And I think that's affecting my enjoyment of the series as well. We probably should talk about the story and move on to some positive stuff. I realise I've started off on a bit of a negative footing here, but I feel like I kind of got to get this stuff out the way. And just it's almost like therapy doing a podcast, you need to get this stuff off your chest. So, but yeah, I don't know, mate. As Shooty's Doctor, he's just not hitting the mark with me at the minute for whatever reason. I don't know. And it's not his performance; it is the way he's being written and stuff. It's just. I probably will talk more about that speech towards the end, because that I really didn't like it. And you might have a different opinion, because some people thought it was a great seeing the Doctor turn dark like that. I did not like it one bit. I'm just going to say that. But anyway, we'll probably come on to that a bit later, I guess.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, dude. Let's talk about the Doctor and Ruby up front, because they're the two sort of big ones, aren't they? So even though it is a Doctor-Lite episode, those couple of scenes where Shooty is in it, it's not too bad at the beginning. So like when they land in London, I think it's 2007.
Yeah, New Year's Eve, which was quite a nice premise. I liked that. Yeah,
it's pretty sweet. And they bump into a very young Conrad, and they have all that stuff, and the Doctor's very nice to him, and but you can still see Belinda's frustration at not being in the right year and all that stuff. So although that was just another example, we said this last week, well, I said it last week, that I feel like every episode is kind of rinse and repeat at this point. So we're having the same conversations. Belinda is frustrated at the same thing. The Doctor's saying the same thing back to her, or similar things. And it feels a bit samey week on week in that respect. But Shooty was good in that opening bit. Fast forward to the end, and I completely agree with you, mate. There's this bit where it doesn't even feel like the Doctor. When he's leaning in really close to Conrad, and he's giving him his future. It feels, in some ways, it does feel like sort of the darker side of Doctor Who. In the past where we've had, David Tennant's run towards the end, where we had the
Time Lord Victoria stuff.
Yeah, so he went a little bit like that, didn't he? Where just a bit ruthless and a little bit darker. So we've seen these things before, but it just felt very. So if you had like on the one end of the spectrum, you have like very bubbly, full of energy, Shooty's Doctor, and all that stuff. And on the other end, you've got this here. I think it just went a bit too far the other end. It didn't feel like I was watching Shooty as the Doctor. I felt like I was watching Shooty playing, if you remove this scene out of the TARDIS and just put it on a street corner somewhere, this would have been like a cool, sort of drama of some kind and that kind of thing. It just felt a lot more mature, a lot more adult, and a lot more, nothing particularly wrong with that, but I don't know, just felt a little bit out of character for Shooty's Doctor.
Well, here's the thing, mate. I quite like it when the Doctor goes a bit dark at times. I do like the whole Time Lord Victorious thing. It was fantastic when Tennant turns to the bad side in that scene, when he's walking away from the base and he's like, let's do whatever. So I nearly swore there. I'm trying not to swear. But the thing is, and I'm going to just mention our friends at the Doctor Who show now, because I don't want them to think I'm copying them, but I just was listening to their show this morning and I absolutely agreed with them. It felt unjustified, and I think that's why I didn't like it, because the Doctor has seen many bad people, many bad things that would have justified that sort of venomous, almost nasty speech telling someone how they are going to die, and that you're going to be this and you'll spend your life rotting in hell. It felt unjustified because this guy, he was a bit of a bleep, but he hadn't really. The Doctor's seen a lot worse that would have justified that sort of reaction. This guy had just basically posted some stuff, nasty words on the internet, and yes, he'd betrayed Shooty's friend, Millie and stuff. But I don't know, it felt over the top, and I think if they had been like a really big baddie that had wiped out half the Earth or whatever, you could have thought, here's the Doctor rocking up to put him in his place. But this just felt a little bit tonally wrong for the Doctor to be like that, to me anyway. It kind of, this is what I mean about being up and down throughout the whole episode. I was like loving it 1 minute, this is great, oh hang on, how did he get into unit base? I mean, come on. And then you get the speech and I don't know, man. I was such a roller coaster for me in terms of emotions throughout this whole episode, really. I will talk about some of the bits I liked, by the way, listeners. Sorry, I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I just have to say that, the bit at the end of the speech, I did not like that coming from the Doctor at all. I'm just going to say it felt unjustified. I think too far. Like you said, it was too far.
Mm-hmm. I mean, fair play to Pete McTighe for going in that direction in the first place. Because I think he had to tackle a couple of sort of larger issues in this episode, right? So we had the whole the sort of gaslighting effect with Conrad with Ruby, and we also had the wider issue of like sort of online echo chambers and that's, those groups of people who do nothing but just want to crap on something, and it's their sort of life mission to even if it's not true, then but they believe it's true, it's they'll follow it through and try and get as many people in on it as possible to spread hatred and lies and all that stuff. So he had a fairly big sort of almost current issue to try and put in there. And I guess the Doctor being that way with Conrad was a way of sort of people putting their foot down and saying, what you're doing is wrong, you're hurting people, you're causing harm, and we're losing patience. I think the Doctor even says that. He said, we've lost patience.
He says, doesn't it? Yeah,
that kind of thing. So fair play to Pete McTighe for doing that, for including that stuff in the script. It's very cool, because we've complained in the past about Doctor Who when it gets a bit preachy sometimes, a bit on the nose and whatnot. But I think sometimes it does, you can use these things as a bit of a plot device to tell an intriguing story if it's there. But like we're saying, I think the way that the Doctor handled it at the end, it did feel a little bit unjust. And also want to caveat as what you've just said. And with listening to Rob and Dave on the Doctor Who show, we're not copying you guys. We're just I think it's just a general opinion between Doctor Who podcasters and creators. Some people anyway. It's
because I know some people loved it, mate. I was going to say that's why I was intrigued to see if it was just me, and then I was quite reassured listening to Rob and Dave today, thinking, those guys are kind of in the same boat as me, because I think some people thought it was great seeing the Doctor turn dark and be like that, because obviously Conrad was an unlikable character, so it kind of was, you were waiting to see him get his comeuppance, but I don't know, it did feel a little on the nose to me personally, mate. I almost, it reminded me a bit of when Jodie turned to the camera that time and started lecturing the audience on the environment. I was almost expecting Shooty to turn to the side and look directly at us, because it was clearly Pete McTighe speaking to a certain demographic of the audience. So yeah, maybe that's why it rubbed me up the wrong way as well, because I just felt like it was a bit on the nose, but I do sort of like what he's getting at in terms of, the whole think tank group and the spread of misinformation. I thought that is quite, that's an interesting thing to tackle. So that's what I mean about being conflicted. I like the idea of it. I'm just not quite sure about the actual execution of that idea in the episode itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same. Samesies, mate. Yeah,
I didn't pick up that think tank is from Robot either. Did you? I've heard a few people mention that the Tom Baker story. Yes. Yeah. I didn't pick up on that, so handing in my fake fan card right here and now. But that's pretty cool. I like that throwback. Yeah,
fake fandom.
Fake fan, get out
again. Let's talk about. There's nothing else to talk about, mate, with the Doctor, because he's only in it for those two scenes, really.
Yeah, and that was enough for me, to be honest.
It was also a Belinda-Lite episode as well, wasn't it? Because a lot of times when you have, I say a lot of times, the few times that they've done a Doctor-Lite episode, it's always been in favour of, okay, the Doctor's off doing something, so we'll leave it up to the companion or the companions to sort of push forward and have their moments, and they'll be the hero or the detective of the hour or whatever it might be. But Belinda doesn't even get that. She's just, she's off with the Doctor as well. So it's kind of I'm conflicted about that, because it would have been a really cool team up with Belinda and Ruby in some respects. But at the same time, this is why I'm conflicted. At the same time, I don't think Belinda would quite be into it. I think she's just more concerned with, she just wants to get home and all that stuff. But Millie Gibson back as Ruby in this one. I really liked her from last season, and it's really cool to see that it's like she was in it last week. It's almost like she hasn't been away, which is really cool. So her performance was great, and it was a little bit goofy at times at the beginning when she's first having dates with Conrad and stuff, and they're all a bit giggly and weird. It's a bit like, if you went on to ChatGPT and said, write me a clumsy romantic script for two people who like each other but have, in their early stage. That's what it would spit out. That kind of, dropping things at the same time, and you both kneel down to pick it up, and you're saying things that are a little bit like, oh no, I didn't mean that. Oh, it's okay. So it was a bit clumsy, the scripts, for that stuff at the beginning. But her performance though was very cool. And she got better as the episode went on, I felt, as well. So when we got to, especially when we got to that bit where they're out in the village, I think it's Conrad's home village, and it all kicks off. The think tank thing comes out, and he reveals himself to be this, nasty piece of work, and then Unit turn up. From that point on, she gets better for me. So she was a highlight for me, mate, in this one. Yeah,
it's good to see Millie back. I mean, her acting is great, I have to say.
A caveat though, sorry, I will come on to that. Sorry to interrupt, dude.
Oh, go on.
There is one big thing that I wasn't too keen on.
Oh no, go for it. What is it?
So I felt like it was a really weird decision for her to suddenly pop up and appear on Conrad's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that was really strange, because I get the whole thing that in the world of Doctor Who, everybody knows now that aliens are real in that world, even though it's based on our real world, if that makes sense. In the world of Doctor Who, the public knows that aliens are real. This all goes back to, I think it was the first Christmas special. Or the second Christmas special, when it's a Donna Noble story, and Wilf is like, bloody aliens running about and all that lot.
Yeah.
So everybody knows that it's a thing, which is one side of it, I guess. But it felt really weird that, for two reasons, that Ruby would just suddenly turn up and appear on this guy's podcast. One, that there's only so much that she'd be willing to talk about in the first place, right? So she couldn't go on there and say all these details about the Doctor and about Unit. It's all top secret stuff and all that stuff. And she is a bit cagey anyway. But then secondly, later on in the episode, when they're in the village pub, she says to Conrad that she's not okay. She feels like she's in constant shock because she's got a form of PTSD about all these weird things that happened when she was with the Doctor. But yet, before that, she's happy to go on and talk about all that stuff and all this. So I just felt like it was a really weird decision for her to, first of all, go and track this guy down for whatever reason, I don't know. And second of all, like, oh, by the way, while you're here, got some microphones set up over here. Do you fancy a quick chat on my public podcast about all this top secret stuff that you do at Unit and the Doctor and things? So that part of it I found really weird, bud.
And also, how, if Conrad's like a conspiracy theorist and he's got all these followers for exposing things, how did they not know about that? Like I think the family even said they've been following him, and or has he got another podcast under the? I just don't know. There were things like that didn't add up, and I agree. I thought it was odd that she would go on there to talk about the Doctor, because surely the Doctor, if you think back to Eccleston's first episode, he's trying to wipe himself from, search history and stuff, isn't he? He wants to be an enigma. And you've got Unit, who are a secret organisation with a great big, Avengers Tower in the middle of London that you seem to be able to get into by coming in the back door. I mean, that was another thing. I'm like, how did But
It was his mate, wasn't it? It was his mate that let him in.
Yeah, it was that other. It was the guy,
Yeah.
wasn't it? I forget his name.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy that he shoots or
Yeah.
whatever, or knocks out. But yeah, I mean, just going back to Millie, it was good to see her back. Again, I think it's an odd choice in terms of the writing, though, that you've just introduced a new companion in this series. You would think if they're going to do a Doctor-Lite episode, they would centre it around them, so we actually get to know them and get to, warm towards them a little bit. So to have Belinda literally just utter one line, I thought was odd, although I was absolutely delighted to see Millie back and she was great in it. It just seems, again, an odd writing choice to do an episode around Millie, who is last season's companion. I'll tell you what I did like, mate, though, is that we got to see a glimpse into a sort of, for want of a better phrase, off-screen adventure. So we got to see the Millie and the Doctor, on an adventure we've never seen before. So that was kind of a cool little idea that we just get a look into that. But then Conrad sees the TARDIS disappear and he sees all this stuff, but he says he doesn't believe in aliens and doesn't believe in UNIT, and UNIT are all, it's all fake. And yet he's seen all this stuff himself anyway. So again, that made me question, well, why would he think it was all fake when he actually has seen the TARDIS disappear right in front of his own eyes, and...
Dude, I know, it's a bit thin, isn't it? The justification for him being so stubborn and like, yep, this is absolutely the case that UNIT is fake and the aliens are fake and they're doing it all just to, keep control and all this stuff. So, but I hadn't considered that though. That, yeah, he did see the TARDIS dematerialise, didn't he?
Well, mate, most of this, if you want to call it negativity that I'm throwing out here, is coming from a second watch, because as I said, a lot of it just unfolded when I watched this again. I started to sort of see things that just did not add up. So on a first watch, it kind of went over my head a little bit, but so if I am being ultra critical of this episode, it's probably because I've just rewatched it and I've just noticed a lot of things that just do not align. And that's one of them. Yeah, I just thought about that actually as you said it. Yeah, he did witness that stuff, and of course he saw the Shreek when he saw the Doctor and Ruby on one of their adventures that wasn't televised. This is just one of those cool little that was pretty cool actually, that bit where we saw the Doctor and Ruby off doing something that we didn't see in an episode. I think it was supposed to be set just after Devil's Cord. Is that right? I don't know.
Yeah.
And this is where I need you to help me, mate. Where are we when we pick up with Ruby? When she meets Conrad, that's obviously after the Doctor's dropped her off because her mum's at the table. Mm-hmm. So is that sort of present day?
No, it's before what we're seeing now with Belinda.
Oh yeah, of course it is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because
this is in between. So later on, towards the end, Conrad asked the Doctor, "Have you met Belinda?"
That's right.
Chandra yet? And he's like, "Who?" He's like confused. So it must be in between Ruby and Belinda.
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, but yeah, go back to Millie Gibson, mate. Very, very good performance, given the writing that she was given. And again, she held her own really well, just like she did back in season 1 with 73 Yards. She held her own in that story, in that Doctor-Lite. So she's getting a bit of a knack for this.
Mate, I'd watch a Ruby Sunday spin-off. I think Millie's great. She absolutely has the acting chops to be a lead character. I'd be more excited for a Millie Gibson Ruby Sunday spin-off than I would be for The Land and the Sea or whatever it is, because I mean this is so clearly trying to set up that spin-off that's on its way, isn't it? That's a lead in. And I mean we haven't even talked about Kate Stewart yet. Oh my gosh, actually I hadn't realised how negative I was going to be on this podcast, but we haven't even got to Kate Stewart yet.
Hey Who fans, Gary here. Sorry to interrupt this episode of The Big Blue Box. Just wanted to pop in and let you know that if you've not caught us talking about it over the last couple of months or on the socials, Adam and I have done another podcast all about Blake 7. It's called Federation Strike, A Journey Through Blake 7. And we've just wrapped our first season where we've reviewed every episode of Series A. We've dived into all of the character progression, the stories, behind the scenes stuff, music, all that stuff. And we've also put a couple of bonus episodes at the end where we've interviewed some very cool people who have been involved in making the Blu-ray box sets. So the link is in the description to this episode, or just do a search in your fave podcast app for Federation Strike Blake 7. You'll find it on there, and we would love for you to check that out. It's a really cool podcast with two very different fans. It's Adam's favourite show. He's a lifelong fan. I'm coming into it fresh as a newbie. So if you're a long-term fan, or you've never watched the show before and you're thinking of diving in, then this is definitely the podcast for you. It's very cool. It's a very similar format and very similar vibe, just about Blake 7. So we'd love for you to go and check it out. So with that being said, thank you very much. And now back to this episode of The Big Blue Box. Let's do it. Let's talk about Kate Stewart then, mate. So what's your gripe there?
Oh, the acting is just so wooden. I mean, I think a lot of people said this was Kate's best episode, and I think they might be right in terms of she actually had some meat on the bones. You know, I just find her acting so wooden, mate. I don't know. I mean, at the end when she set the thing free, and, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think she's that bad. I'm probably being a bit harsh, but I was like, you know, okay, this is, you know, they are giving us some good stuff here. You know, don't you talk about my dad and all that. But I also found that went on a bit too long. I actually started to feel a little uncomfortable that she was willing to let this thing maul Conrad to death. It again, it sort of started to play into the sort of dark side of Doctor Who that I like, but it just pushed it a bit too far for me personally when it just went on a bit too long. You know, he's like hiding in this thing, and I thought this is quite unpleasant actually. I'm not sure. You know, it's one thing to teach him a lesson and say, oh, you don't believe? Oh, let me just let him out and introduce him. I thought, okay, yeah, go Kate. But then it just went on a bit, and I thought, no, this is just getting a bit sadistic now. I'm not sure. I think this is pushing the boundaries a bit in terms of how, you know, the character should be, I think. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
You know? But then when it bit him on the arm, I did have a little chuckle. So this is what I mean. I was up and down the whole way. I was like, oh, that's horrible. Oh, that's fun. That's good. Oh, don't know.
Yeah, I know. I quite like that from Kate.
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah, I think Kate's character is normally quite by the numbers. She's. It feels like she's the sort of person that has got a rule book knocking around somewhere a lot of the time. So it was nice to have a bit of a change of pace, and the catalyst being the insult to her dad.
Yeah.
So I think Gemma Redgrave was speaking to Conrad rather than Kate Lethbridge Stewart as a companion to the viewer. And what I mean by that is like, oh no, you didn't. Like, you did not just insult the brig. So she's kind of acting as we all did in that moment, you know. It's fans of the brig, you know, of Classic Who. It's like, no, you didn't, mate. You didn't just go there. So it was cool to see her cut loose a little bit and go against the rule book. But I kind of get what you're saying in that whole scene with the Shreek, and she's letting it go on. And yeah, you've even got what's his face, haven't you, saying to Lethbridge Stewart, you're saying, look, this is going too far, sort of thing. It's, you know, so I get what you're saying, dude. But it was a cool scene though. And one thing that made me laugh was you saw the Shreek go to take a chunk out of him. And then it cuts off, doesn't it? And you think to yourself, right, how far did that go? Did it maul him to death? Did it, did it not do anything? And I think they report back to Kate and say, you know, he's going to live, he's going to be fine. So when it cuts to him in a prison cell, I thought he was going to be like head to toe bandages.
Like the Invisible Man.
Yeah, like face half ripped off, all sorts, like in a real bad state. But he's just got an armband on.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, yeah, I'll probably be all right after this. Bit of a scar there, but I'll be all right. They've sort of over-egged that a bit. But so, yeah, it was, yeah, she was, but I know what you mean in terms of her acting though, mate. She sometimes doesn't have a lot of, I think it's just her natural personality, Gemma Redgrave. I think she doesn't have a lot of, what's the word? A melody to her voice. It sounds a bit monotone at times.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and it sounds but I thought she was cool though, overall.
Yeah, I will agree, although I'm not the biggest fan of her of Kate Stewart. I will agree, it was one of her better episodes, in terms of giving us stuff to do. I'll tell you what this episode needed, mate, for me. I needed Morris to be in it. I needed Lenny Rush to add a little bit of humour in between all this sinister, dark stuff that was going on. That's what I needed. Where was Morris? Just even if that scene where she set the creature on Conrad and it's all getting a bit intense and dark, it just needed Lenny to be sort of popping up from behind, the counter looking a bit scared and going, oh, just something to lighten it up a bit. So I missed him this episode. I don't know where Morris was. Mel's off in Australia somewhere. We got Shirley Bingham doing her thing, but it needed Morris in this for me.
Yeah, I think they try to do a bit of that with Shirley Bingham's character.
It didn't work for me.
Yeah, she dropped a couple of little lines.
Right.
When Conrad's got the gun and they're having a good old chinwag, and Kate starts to unload a little bit on him. She's getting more and more wound up. She drops a little I think you should drop a compliment here. It doesn't really land. We needed Lenny, didn't we?
Well, I suppose we had the Vlinks hiding. Now I think about it, he scarpered out of there pretty quick, didn't he? Didn't hang around.
Yeah.
That stupid robot.
Yeah. What did before we just very quickly run through a couple of other little bits? What did you think to the other main character then, which is Conrad himself? So Conrad Clark, played by I think I'm saying this right, Jonah Hauer-King. Hauer-King, I'm pretty sure, and a character that you love to hate. Yeah. So from that perspective, I think his performance was really good. This guy had a really good poker face, basically, like that first third of the episode where he's all very light and fluffy and he's a bit bumbly, a bit clumsy, but you can tell that he's coming across at least that he's into Ruby, and he's doing all that charming stuff and everyone's happy and it's all lovely. And then that bit at the village when it turns out that his mates were just dressed up as the Shreek aliens, and he pulls his shirt across and his face just changes immediately.
Yeah.
And his tone changes and his demeanour. A really good performance from that point of view. And then from that point onwards, you are kind of shaking your fist at the TV a little bit and you're like, oh, you're going to get it soon and we're all going to cheer when you get it. So I thought he was really good, mate. What do you think?
Yeah, very, very good. I thought his performance was brilliant because although I guessed he was going to be evil, like you said, when he did the switch, when we got the twist, it still made me go a little bit, oh, he was really, his performance was excellent. And I also, at the end, when he's in the prison cell and then the doctor turns up and starts giving him that lecture, I shouldn't have been on his side, but when he said to the doctor, "Get off my world," I actually thought, yes, tell him. And I thought, oh no, I shouldn't be on your side. What am I doing?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I was, because his performance was brilliant. And I kind of wanted him to put the doctor in his place because it is his world, The doctor's just coming on and mouthing off and So I shouldn't have been on his side, but because his performance was so good, I think he was a great choice of actor for that part because he managed to switch from, very lovey-dovey to really quite a nasty piece of work, or a bit of a bleep. We don't want to swear. He did it very well. It was a good performance, Yeah, it was good.
He was good. And let's mention Mrs. Flood. She makes an appearance at the end, of course, as expected.
Of course. Yeah.
She's now the prison governor. She rattles the keys. It kind of insinuates that she's about to release him because she jangles the keys in front of him. So one would assume, rightly or wrongly, that Conrad is now a free man. I say free, sort of on the run, as it were.
Yeah.
And but yeah, this intrigue for Mrs. Flood continues, mate. We still don't know exactly what's going on with her, but she's back.
I think I'm in the minority here, but I like seeing her turn up every week.
Mate, I love it. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. I've seen a few people say they're bored of her and stuff. And I thought it's probably my favourite one so far of her being the prison warden. I loved that when I saw the jangly keys. I was like, here she comes. It was another brief appearance, but I loved it. And I am still intrigued by the Mrs. Flood thing. I'm assuming she sets Conrad free. I wonder if this is all going to play into the finale. I get the feeling it might. In terms of Conrad, I feel like we might see him again. I'm not too sure. But I liked Mrs. Flood's appearance this week.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Actually, I haven't seen anyone mention this, so I've probably got it completely wrong. But does she call herself the governor, right?
The governor, yes.
What was the thing in Star Beast that the Meep said, so-and-so's coming for you? Was that not the governor? Or the governor will not be pleased or something? Or am I just getting really muddled, mate? Because this only came to me this morning. I'm probably getting it all wrong. Who's the big bad that was mentioned in the Star Beast? Or has that already been solved? Was that Sutek?
I don't think he said the governor.
What did he say? Because there was this thing, wasn't it? That who's the... It was like this mystery.
Didn't it turn out to just be the toy maker anyway?
Oh, was it? I mean, it's probably already been solved.
I don't know. I know what you mean. I know exactly what scene you mean.
Yeah.
When he says, he who shall not be named, or...
I'm gonna have to go
that's
back
Harry Potter, isn't it? That's Harry Potter. But I know which scene you mean. He does have a little dig at the Doctor and says, that person. But I don't think it's the governor.
No, I'm probably clutching at straws here. But I don't know. It just came to me while I was watching it earlier.
Yeah. The old Meep.
Meep. We never did get that toy. I was looking forward to that.
Oh, the plush. Yeah.
Cancelled.
We had some supporting cast members make an appearance. We had Ruby's family, two mums, Nana.
Yeah.
They provided a bit of comic relief, I guess, towards the beginning. Quite nice to see. It sort of rounded out the whole sort of vibe that Ruby's back. It gave some legitimacy to that. Because if you just saw Ruby and that was it, it'd be like, okay. Didn't want to spend a few bucks now and get the supporting cast members back as Ruby's family.
Yeah.
But so that was kind of cool. And then you had Conrad's mates who were reasonably unlikable. And then you understand why they are. Because even when they were trying to be nice to Ruby and stuff, I thought, because there's a guy, he's a real horrible guy. They're round the table when he's just finished his pint, and he went, "You're round, Ruby." No, please. No, thank you. Nothing.
No manners.
Yeah, and she just jumps up like, "Oh, no worries." I've been like, "You wouldn't have had that if me and Adam were out."
No, you'd be lucky if you get bought around.
Exactly. Yeah. But they were, as expected, I guess. But and then who else? So Shirley Bingham, spoke about her. I think that's kind of. I think there was a few other people. What about little Conrad then at the beginning? Mini Conrad. Benjamin Chivers. He was sort of starstruck. Somebody else pointed out on. I've listened to about 4 different podcasts now on this.
Yeah.
One of them pointed out that when he went back to his mum, and you saw that was okay actually, that bit, although it was a hard watch where his mum sort of clips him around the ear and doesn't really want to pay attention to what he's saying. That leans into the reason why he's grown up the way he is, isn't it? It's, we had this whole much bigger subject of parenting and how that leads to things. And that played on this a little bit in this episode. You had Ruby saying that she's suffering from PTSD, and you can see clearly that Conrad has not had the best upbringing with his mum. And it's that he's manifested that in a much different way. Instead of going inward and being like Ruby is with her PTSD, he's kind of gone outward with it, and he wants to take that out on the world and all that stuff. But the younger Conrad, another podcast mentioned it was weird that he went back to his mum and said, "I've just seen the Doctor and Belinda Chandra's." Like, what's that got to do with anything? It's like his mum's like, "All right, who are these people? I don't care. Who are these people?" So that was kind of weird, but yeah, an interesting setup to the story though.
Yeah, I know what they mean. I was going to say, because I thought it was quite a nice little intro to the story, but yeah, it was. He went back and said, "I've just seen a box with a Doctor and a Belinda Chandra," like that, like the kid would mean anything, just met some strangers. But yeah, he was a good little actor for that scene, I thought. Yeah, and it was quite. That's what I mean. It was quite a good little intro to the episode, because you instantly got, when his mum clips him, you're like, oh. You start to sort of warm towards a character, and then we see him later as an adult. So you're kind of almost tricked into liking him straight away. So it was a good sort of way to lure the viewer in, I think, to thinking Conrad might be good, but he's not going to be.
Yeah. Just 2 more things on my notes, dude. The first one was the creature, the alien, the Shreek. I thought that was reasonably generic in terms of designing an alien for Doctor Who. It's the usual kind of, we need an evil alien, so we'll give it red eyes, claws, big teeth, that kind of thing. I wasn't really blown away by that. It wasn't too bad. I thought it was going to be more scary looking than what it was, because when you see the build up with the screams and all that stuff, I thought it was going to be a bit scarier. So it wasn't too bad. And then the other thing is that I felt like Murray Gold's music went back a little bit to good old times at various points in this. Quite creepy, quite cool. And then the bit where unit turn up in the helicopter and everything like that, that felt very sort of 2007 Doctor Who. That kind of big theme as units sort of pull up and stuff like that. So I've not really been into Murray's music thus far, but I thought this one was pretty sweet this week.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to agree. I thought it was okay. No, the only reason I say that, mate, is because on my notes I've written unit turn up at village, Murray's music cringe. I thought it was, yeah. No, I think it was a bit, it was a bit Thunderbirds. I don't know, it didn't work for me. I don't know, maybe I'm just in a really bad mood this week. I don't know. But no, I can't agree with you on that one, mate, because I wrote it on my notes, so I must have thought it.
Yeah, I just thought it just felt like older Murray Gold with putting some kind of theme there. That, yeah, I don't know.
I think I know what you're saying. It was definitely going for a theme rather than a bit of generic music. So
yeah,
but it was just a bit too. I don't know. Just didn't do it for me.
Yeah. And what did you think to the Shreek alien?
I kind of know what you mean about the design, but I quite like the look of them. And I to be honest, I think my favourite bit of this whole episode is when we started seeing, the sort of silhouette of them rising up outside the pub, and before we know that they're actually people in suits. Very Scooby-Doo moment, that as well, when they take the masks off. Yeah, cosplayers. But no, I didn't mind the design, but I do also see what you're saying about being a bit generic, and maybe that was intentional. But I did like the bit where Kate knocks on the window as well, and that was quite a jumpy moment, when with the real Shreek inside there, was pretty good. But design-wise, I know what you're saying, but I didn't mind it. I thought they looked okay for what they were supposed to be. Yeah.
Actually, one last thing I've got on my notes here, and I don't want to go into too much, just 10 seconds on this, because this could be a whole podcast episode in itself.
Is this a can of worms ready to be opened?
It is, mate, yeah. I'm not really feeling... Oh, sounds such a negative... We sound so negative.
We are really negative this week. I know.
It's not the case, though. This wasn't a bad episode, but one thing that's not sitting right with me is the fact that the Doctor seems to just change clothes and costumes all the time at the moment. And one thing I'm really missing is going back to... and this does make me sound so bloody grumpy, but going back to like older Doctor Who, not classic, but just, from, I don't know, Matt Smith or even Capaldi, where the Doctor had an outfit and that was it. Like, you knew that the Doctor that you were enjoying was in that particular costume, and that was it. The Doctor just wore that. There might be a slight variation here and there, but the Doctor had a costume, and that was synonymous with that particular actor. Pretty much, I think a lot of actors have had an influence and a say in how they want their Doctor to look, and they've worked with the designers and everybody, and they've come up with their own look. Whereas with Shooty, I don't know, it just feels like he's in and out of H&M every week, or he's in and out of, I don't know, some designer shop, and he's repping all these different things. I don't know, mate. I miss the days where the Doctor had a costume.
I hear you. I do agree with you to quite a big extent. I mean, I liked what he was wearing at the start of the episode. We probably won't see it again. I don't mind him changing up the costume now and again. I just think it's the frequency of him changing that's, like you said, we do like to have the Doctor to have a sort of silhouette, the scarf, the bow tie, something. Shooty seems to have a new outfit every other scene. So I don't mind the changing up of the clothes. It's just the frequency that I don't like. So I do agree with you, mate. And I mean, I liked his outfit at the start, but then when he did the lecture thing at the end, and he's wearing that white One Piece, whatever it was. Somebody said he looked like he'd just stepped out of CNA, and I was like, yes.
CNA.
I did not like that at all.
Now you're going
did
back.
not like that outfit one bit. That whole white thing, that white outfit. No. Just no. I mean, that's what I mean. I did. Maybe I just don't. Stood there in that thing, and I'm like, where's he off to? Like, where's he going?
He's got a hot date. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a hot date. Yeah. So I do pretty much agree with you. I don't mind it as much, but I do agree it'd be nice if, a bit like with Eccleston, if they just mixed it up by changing the top, to a different colour one week or something. But
yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything on your notes, dude?
Yeah, I got Trinity Wells was back. I was pleased
Trinity.
to see her. I've missed our Trinity. I started to think the actress had got another job because there's been moments where I've expected her to turn up and she's not been there. So great they got who plays Trinity Wells, by the way? Who is the...
Trinity Wells is Lachelle Carl.
I want to meet her. Does she not do any conventions? I love Trinity Wells.
Yeah.
Did you think it was cool having the One Show and the Masked Singer have their little moments on the show? Because I was surprised to see an ITV show in a BBC show.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. We've seen that before, haven't we?
It's very much a Russell thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very much a Russell thing. Let me have a look. Have I got anything else on my notes? How did Ruby... What? Can't even read my writing. No, I think I'm pretty much done, mate.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
There's something on there about Ruby which I can't read. Blimey. This is the problem with me writing notes while I actually watch the episode. I really should get myself a like you've got it all on a computer, so it's typed out nice and neat. I've just got a pad and pen.
Old school.
How did Ruby
mean?
No, can't read it. We'll never know what that note was. It was probably something really positive, but
look out on the socials for an update from Adam.
My writing is shocking, mate. Honestly.
Why did Ruby?
Why?
Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, no, I think it's how old Ruby meant to be. I was trying to work out where this was set. That's what it is.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, scores. I think it's me to go first.
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10.
Ooh.
As I said, very weird. Come across vocally quite negative on a few things, but I actually thought this wasn't a bad watch at all. Thought it was a good watch, this one. What about you?
I can just see listeners facepalming going, what? Because this is the thing, probably one of our most negative podcasts in a very long time, and yet I'm giving it a 7 out of 10.
A 7, is it? Okay.
I don't know. I did sort of like it. I had written 7.5. It dropped 0.5 on the second watch, I have to tell you, because I just noticed things like plot holes. But it was, despite our negativity, I think it's more frustration than anything, mate. It was another one where I felt like good premise there. Could have been a really good episode. A lot of people thought it was, which is great, but for me, and you by the sounds of it, just one too many niggles going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was. I've got a lot of respect to Pete McTighe and his script for tackling a few things that are reasonably prevalent these days in terms of online fandom and just online stuff in general, PTSD and some other things, and also I didn't really miss the Doctor too much in this one. So a lot of people complain about Doctor-Lite episodes, but I thought this one was good, and I thought Millie Gibson's performance was really great, and the guy that played Conrad, Jonah Hauer-King, I thought those two were fantastic in it. So yeah, it was a good watch. Although he sounded negative, I actually thought it was a good watch.
I think just one last thing as well, mate, with Pete McTighe. I think a very similar thing has happened in this that happened with his episode Kablam, whereas I think the central message he's wanting to put across is a really good one. Is it something that's interesting to explore, but I think somehow it doesn't. It kind of gets lost. So with Kablam, it almost felt like he was sticking up for the big corporation in terms of the way the episode ended. I think in this, the message has got a bit lost as well, that, his unit is supposed to be the good guys, and yet millions of people will have seen Conrad's video of them setting a creature on him to kill him, and yet we're supposed to believe that people supported that decision when he would have had millions of fans, Willard, to believe. So it's kind of making UNIT out to be the bad people, but that's not I would assume, Pete McTighe's intention. So once again, I think we've got a really sort of good concept from Pete. That's the message has got muddled somewhere in the mix, and I think that's sort of sums up my feelings towards this episode, is that my thoughts on it are muddled because of that.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Cool.
Alrighty. And on that note then, let's wrap it there for episode 423.
Alrighty.
Thank you very much, dear listener, for coming back, listening to another episode of The Big Blue Box. That was 423 in our review of Lucky Day. 7.5 from me, a 7 from him. Pretty reasonable scores in the end, after all of that. We will be back next week, of course, to review the next episode in this season called The Story and the Engine. Which sounds, I mean, the title's great. And that's another one that's... is not written by Russell T Davies. So this week, next week, and the week after, all guest writers. So we'll see if that throws some variety in before we get to the finale and all that stuff. So once again, thank you very much for listening. We'll be back next week. Make sure you're following or subscribing in your fave podcast app of choice. That way you won't miss notifications for all the future episodes when they drop, and the roundtables each month. Also head over to the website bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk to listen there and check out all the reviews and articles from the writing team. You can hop off to the socials or just do a search on those, the Big Blue Box. Give us a like and a follow. We chat Doctor Who every week, and also hop into the Discord server, the link on the website. We chat lots of Doctor Who with other Who fans. In between all that, obviously go and check out my co-host channel on YouTube. It's called The Geek's Handbag.
Geek's Handbag, lots of videos on there, and what's on all the socials under the same name, The Geek's Handbag.
Indeedy. Adam's got loads of Doctor Who stuff over there, unboxings, reviews, vinyl hunts and all that stuff, so go and check all that out. Until next week, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember,